I'm making a game about spending money. The player is challenged to spend the same amount of money every year, young, old, or in between. How do you maximize the amount you spend? To play the game, we need to answer these questions. This video is part of a series talking about ways to answer the questions. In this chapter, we will be talking about saving during the fat years to spend in the lean years. The game board looks like this. We have the situation, which is the age and salary of the person. We have the life expectancy. We have the cash flow, where spending is in the solid line and their salary is in the dotted line. And we have wealth charts. And a new addition, the utility chart, which I will explain later.
Disclaimer: this information is for general information and entertainment only. It is not intended to be a substitute for professional financial investment, tax, or legal advice. Always consult with a qualified professional before making any real-life decisions. I am not responsible for any losses or damages as a result or use of this information.
Here is the situation. We have a 25-year-old person who is earning $50,000 per year after taxes. They expect a further 1,000 yearly raises on average. They currently have debt of $50,000, and they plan to retire between age 62 and 67. We can crank up the runs button to analyze more possible outcomes for this person, up to 1,600. The savings rate slider sets this person's minimum and maximum savings percentage, which we'll be exploring. 0% means that they will not go into debt, and they can have up to a maximum of 10% of their income saved per year, according to this setting. When we press the Simulate button, the game calculates all 1,600 possible runs and gives the results. If we zoom into the wealth graph, we can see in almost all the cases they go bankrupt, unfortunately. They need to save more, so let's try asking them to save up to 20% of their income instead of 10%. The game tries to have them spend the same each year, but if there's not enough money, the spending will have to drop to some subsistence level. You can see that this happens in the least lucky 10th percentile of the possible outcomes. A 30% savings rate looks a lot better. Their spending is almost flat with a slight dip after retirement. Their income rises from $50K to almost $80K for the 50th percentile outcome, but their spending only rises to about $60K. This seems to be a good formula for constant spending, basically to save any salary increases. The utility function is in the bottom left corner, which we covered in a previous video. It is improving dramatically as the savings rate increases. A trend is forming. So what about up to a 40% savings rate? There seems to be no improvement in the utility function. And going to 50%, the utility function actually seems to go down. Perhaps they have oversaved. We can fill in some more data points. 1,600 samples is not enough to get a really solid answer, but it shows a general trend. If this person is willing to save up to 30% of their salary and not spend their raises, then they can achieve constant spending each year. Now let's go crazy. Let's consider the same 25-year-old person, but now assume 2,000 average annual raises. We can create the same utility function plot using 20%, 30%, and 40% maximum savings rates. At 40% savings rate, the median spending can rise from about $50,000 up to $70,000, even though their after-tax salary rises to a median of about $120,000. I wanted to see what would happen if we allowed the person to go into even more debt. I was thinking they could spend more when they were young and then make up for it with earnings later. We do this by allowing the savings rate to go negative. So we can try -4, -8, or -12%, for example. Surprisingly, the effect is very small. They do not pay off their debts until about age 40, regardless of these different borrowing scenarios. It is definitely possible to have the same spending each year. The way to do it is to hold spending constant, even if income rises significantly. In this example, saving about 30% of the peak salary worked well, and the person did not have to save much at all early in their career when they were not making much money. In this example, it was the raises in salary which powered the constant spending. Other situations could be very different.